breaking barriers and bridging the gaps between patients and doctors. Welcome to Brainstorming with the Docs and your co-hosts, Dr. Glenn Harrison and Dr. Kolby Condos.
All right, everyone, welcome back to this week's episode of Brainstorming with the Docs. I'm Dr. Kolby Condos, my co-host, Dr. Glenn Harrison. How's it going, buddy?
Doing great. What are you doing this evening other than podcasting?
I tell you what, man, I am ridiculously busy. I am remodeling a house, raising 2 kids, trying to be a good spouse, probably not doing any of them as well as I could or should.
Maybe you need to have systems in place. Maybe you need to have like protocols.
I think that would be maybe
for this
good in this situation. Yeah. I've kind of got like an unwritten set of rules that I'm following right now.
If everything's the same, then the protocol might work.
Yeah, unfortunately, that is not necessarily the case in the life that I'm currently living. I think the protocols work just fine until your 1-year-old wakes up 4 times because he's teething or something. Then they just kind of right out the window. You know what I mean? Yeah. This is not what it says it should be on the paper. So today we are talking about protocols and why protocols necessarily do not work all the time in health.
Or we can just say protocols
don't work in some situations, right? If this is your first time listening or watching, please hit like and subscribe and turn on notifications because we're going to continue to roll out new content each and every week. And you never know when we might roll out something that helps you. So the definition of a protocol, right? A system of rules for the correct procedures and conduct which needs to be followed in order to achieve an outcome, right? Makes sense. Yeah. You have this, you do this, and this.
Yeah. If you, I don't know, there's all sorts of, if you do this, turn left. If right. This, turn left. If this happens, turn right. So it's just a sequence of, and I think it's good for standard of care, right? And I think people like it, and we talked about this, is because it's reproducible. If you have this symptom, you do this. If you don't have this symptom, but a different symptom, you do that. It's linear. It's this goes to this and that goes to that. There's no, well, what ifs?
Right.
And it tends to be efficient. It's kind of like, I like to call it assembly line medicine. Assembly line. You tighten this bolt on this, this piece, and then you go to the next piece, and then you tighten that up, or you do this. And it creates a set of expectations. So ideally, protocols, it wouldn't matter if your clinic had the identical protocol that my clinic does. If someone comes in, it would be just a different roof and a different desk. Everything else would be the same.
Right. It's like McDonald's, right? You can go to any McDonald's and get the exact same cheeseburger.
That's right. And that's a hard thing to do.
Oh, 100%.
All the protocols identical. So you can walk in any McDonald's, and it's good because then if you're really into McDonald's, I can't believe we're talking about McDonald's on a podcast. But if you're really into McDonald's, you could be in, Thailand, McDonald's there, or you could be in the Midwest in the U.S. and that cheeseburger or whatever is going to kill you, it will taste the same. The death will taste the same.
Yeah. That cheese slathered carcinogen.
Yeah. So that's a good thing, right? There's structure. It's consistent. It's reproducible. That's a great thing. Commonly used in medical, pretty well everything. The billing, the legal aspect, structure, the appointments, everything should be kind of standard.
Right, and this is not just within like individual entities. This is across. So if you go to a hospital and you have this, like you can assume that it would be very similar and congruent treatment to what you would receive at another hospital. Yeah,
and I think that's a very good thing from a patient standpoint, right? It's called standard of care, and it's very, very specific. And there's many other industries that use it because it is the efficiency model. That's the biggest purpose of it. But like you've made these notes on this when we're talking about art. Art, it's not commonly used in art and architecture, literature, music, right? What's the protocol for music? There isn't, because there has to be creativity.
Yep.
The opposite of creativity is a protocol.
Yeah, there's uniqueness in all of those things, right?
That's true.
It's a one-off. It's not like, and even if you tried to reproduce it, you couldn't. That's why there's only one Picasso.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So,
Yeah. So, so what
so in
happens?
certain situations, they work really, really well. But in certain situations, they also fall short a little bit.
Yeah, or a lot,
Right.
especially if creativity or the allowing for variables is necessary.
I think that was the biggest thing when we were talking about this and discussing this prior to recording this is, why is it in some situations that protocols really fall short? And I think it's because you're trying to compartmentalize and make everything the same. And as human beings, we are not the same. We have
Sure.
variables that you never know. Like what you have going on, we could have the same condition, but the underlying cause of that condition is not the same.
That's exactly
In
right.
most cases, right?
Yeah, because the condition is based off a symptom, and the symptom can manifest differently from one person to another. That's why I say diabetes. Person A has diabetes and person B has diabetes, but the symptoms are drastically different.
Right. One person has neuropathy, one person has retinopathy, one person has nephropathy.
Exactly.
One person has cardiovascular disease.
Yeah, yeah.
One person has all of them.
That's right. So one person has dementia as a result.
Yeah.
So things fall. It doesn't take into account those certain circumstances, health changes, or it could be that goals, outcomes, or resources are different than those used in the protocol. So if one facility has different resources, well, they're going to use different resources.
Right. Or if the patient has different resources,
Right.
like, oh, I want you to do this and this and this. Well, patient A has the ability to afford and implement all those things, and patient B doesn't, then the protocol is going to fall short of its intended target.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So I know you talked about this squeaky wheels.
Oh, yeah. Right. It's like, oh, here's the protocol for a squeaky wheel. You just do this. Well, unless you want to replace the entire front end in your car, you probably want to
get it right. Yeah.
Yeah. You probably want to figure out where the squeaking's coming from, right? Is it your brakes? You have an issue with your ball joints? You have issues with struts or bearings, or what is the cause, right? Whereas a protocol would be like, okay, you have a squeaky wheel. We're going to do all of this. We're going to replace everything.
That's it, right? And I think the protocols were the perfect measure when it comes to say health. What we're talking about, you would be able to buy the book on, again, diabetes. Here's how you fix your diabetes, and everybody would take the same book and they would read it and do what they need to do, and their diabetes would be gone. The same thing with weight. Now there are these books out there, but they don't apply to everybody. They just don't, because that's a set of rules, very, very rigid. And weight, right? How many weight loss books are there?
Oh, geez.
And why are there so many? Because every author is trying to put a new twist on the component of weight loss, and some books might work for that individual, but there's no one book that fits all.
Right. Diets, same thing.
Yeah. And that's because of the unique difference of the individual. We talk about real life examples of building a business, building a house, right? There's all sorts of things in building a house. Everything's different. Geographic location, what's required. I know we talk about health problems and low energy. Oh my goodness, right? What are some of the protocols that are offered for low energy that we tend to see?
Oh yeah, you can take like sleeping meds, you can take hormone replacement stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing is,
yeah, there's so many different causes of energy disruption. A million and one. Anything.
Yeah. What is the protocol for it?
Yeah.
I mean,
what is it? Exactly.
If everyone's low energy was caused by the same thing, it might work.
Yeah.
Right?
What is the protocol for someone that's always cranky?
Right.
I don't know. Yeah, run away from them. Indigestion and heartburn. There's another example. What are the medical protocols? And there's a few, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Proton pump inhibitors, any kind of antacids. The common omeprazole. Sometimes these can do very, very good job of getting rid of a symptom, but it's not going to correct the problem that's causing the symptom.
Right.
And it's a protocol for one. And a lot of times, antacid, heartburn, indigestion, or acid reflux, antacid medications don't even do it.
Right.
for some people because they have
Right.
something else going on, but the symptoms the same, so the protocol's the same.
Right.
So there's lots of pieces to this. I think we kind of beat it up pretty badly. What's the takeaway? What's the takeaway?
So I think basically, if you look at it, like protocols have their places, right?
Yeah.
And if they're used in static settings or settings where you don't have to consider the unique biological identity of a person or the physiology of that person, then they would work really, really well. When you start looking at when you are helping a person, a unique person, they have unique unique symptoms, they have a unique onset, they have a unique cause, they have unique situations in their life, everything about them is unique, then maybe these protocols aren't going to hold water, or they're not going to be as effective as they would if you had maybe tailored it a little bit more specifically to that specific patient, rather than seeing them as a static, they have X, you do this and this and this is the protocol, and we should see results. Because in a lot of cases, it just doesn't happen.
That's right. Yeah. But protocols are so attractive, right? Everybody.
Right. It seems so easy. I mean, we have this. You have this in your office. I'm sure I have it in my office. I have, and we're not immune to this or not guilty of this. I've had people be like, "Hey, what's the protocol for this?" Be like, "Well, there isn't one, because everyone's cause of their whatever is different." What was the onset? When did it happen? Was it traumatic? Was it spontaneous? What was it? You got to really consider all the variables and try to formulate a plan that fits that specific patient rather than that specific diagnosis or condition.
Yeah. And I think if somebody has been struggling with their health long enough, and they're still looking for a protocol, and I think they've been let down enough, things have been going on for years, that they should really, really closely consider what we're talking about, that if there is a protocol out there, another protocol for whatever symptom they're dealing with, they should probably run the other way, because the protocols didn't work in the past. And there's a lot of both sides of the aisle, medical and non-medical clinics are following protocols a lot.
I just had one of these this week. I just had one on Monday, and this patient's been on every single protocol under the sun. Now this specific patient has a difficult time following, like choosing one thing and following through. So to give the protocol a fair shake, like it's hard to determine if it's effective if they're not following it.
Of course.
But this patient also has like 9 million supplements. They've tried everything, but never really followed through on everything, or anything. So it's hard to say. But again, if, like you said, if it's as simple as, oh, you just follow this protocol, then it's probably doesn't hold water.
Yeah. And then you'll set yourself up for failure and frustration, and not following protocols takes a bigger investment of time, clinical.
Yeah,
cost,
definitely.
Because it's custom.
Yeah. It's not linear. It's not fact. It's not fast. It's not super efficient. But when you look at it from an efficiency standpoint, do you want it to be efficient from getting to point A to point B? And point B is like, well, you're still having symptoms, but they're less. Or do you want to try to get to a place where you're thriving and not surviving, right?
That's
how
right.
much are you willing to invest, and how tolerant are you going to be to all these specific variables and implementing these changes? And that's when you have to decide if a protocol works for you or not. I mean, it might work for you.
But don't get burnt out on protocols, because if you do, you lose motivation and tolerance for patients. And the more you lose, if protocols are failing, and then someone is going to approach you and say, hey, we're going to do it differently. It's going to be completely tailored and custom and different, but it's going to take, 2 times as long. You already ran out of patience by the time you're there, and tolerance. So be careful with that. Everybody only has so much patience and tolerance. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
So if you guys got value out of this one, or you have questions or comments, or there's a topic you'd like us to cover, you can get a hold of us at info@brainstormingwiththedocs.com. You can find a lot of information on our websites, which mine is northlakeschirocratic.com. Dr. Glenn's is drgharrison.com. Or again, hit like and subscribe and turn on notifications, because we are going to continue to roll out new content each and every week. And hopefully we do something that's impactful and helps you.
No, that sounds good, Dr. Kolby. I
All
look
right,
forward
buddy.
to the next one.
Till next time.